Yo guys, it's Andrew. So this is the fifth part of my long series of giving my first Noob player impressions on Guild Wars 2. Being a long-time MMO player that I am, having played a bunch of MMOs like WoW, Final Fantasy XIV, Elder Scrolls Online, RuneScape, and others, and giving my impressions on everything Guild Wars 2 has to offer to a new player like myself. Now, if you want to see the previous parts of this series of my noob impressions on Guild Wars 2, there will be a link below, and I do highly recommend you go check out those videos so you can see my full experience on Guild Wars 2 in full. But if you are already here having watched the previous parts, or just want to see this part and don't want to watch the others, maybe you're new here for the first time to this channel and are watching this series for the first time from this specific part, then welcome to the video, and welcome to the channel. Of course, make sure to leave a like, subscribe, and hit the bell icon to see future Guild Wars 2 or general MMO videos and get notifications for it from me. And leave a comment and let me know your thoughts on the video as well. For now, let's get into it. So for my continued progression in Guild Wars 2, I have been continuing on strongly with my Ranger. I think I finally have chosen my true main instead of constantly switching characters and making new ones to level over and over and over again. Even though I do very much enjoy leveling new characters in Guild Wars 2, I am excited to actually level alts to max level eventually. But for now, I'm glad I was finally able to pick a main that I can stick with. At least I'd like to hope that this is the main that I will stick to, and I won't switch again. Hopefully, at least. If you've seen my past videos in this series, you would know that I do have a bit of an issue with that. But in any case, I've been loving Ranger for the most part, and the most of all. Out of all the characters I've played so far and the classes I've tried so far, I've loved it the most. As I've said before, the leading cause of me loving Ranger so much is the dual-wield axes, which are used as throwing axes in the ability toolkit. It's been an absolute blast being able to do tons of flat and damage over time damage with the dual-wield axes, and also have my pet deal tons of damage as well. Playing Ranger with dual-wield axes it reminds me a lot of the gameplay loop of Hunter in World of Warcraft, so it really helps me feel right at home playing this class. Also, I've continued to explore as many zones as I can as well, but sadly I wasn't able to do much of completing or 100%ing the zones in the silver range again because the adventure guide just threw a ton of levels at me throughout this level bracket of this video, but in the next level bracket I do want to do more exploring and 100%ing the zones, especially the Norn areas because I absolutely love the aesthetic of those zones with the music and all. The zones make me feel right at home as well, being the Elder Scrolls fan that I am, and since the Norn zones feel a lot like Skyrim from the Elder Scrolls games, and the music is done by the composer of the Elder Scrolls games, it just feels super comfy and is very relaxing and fun to be in. But besides that, to now get into my personal story. My story continues to evolve into the vast open world, and it carries on, and now the Vigil Order has required me to seek out one of the tribal races to try and get more of an understanding with one of those tribal races, and bring them into the fold with the Vigil Order to fight against the Elder Dragon threats. Any help matters and every person counts, and getting all peoples of Tyria will make the biggest difference of all in saving everyone from the Elder Dragon threats. Now, being a fan of Warhammer Fantasy, if I haven't said before, I decided to choose a Skrit as the race I would help, because I really love the Skaven. I think they're hilarious and funny, but I also think they have awesome lore and story in Warhammer Fantasy, and the Skrit reminded me a lot of the Skaven, so I chose them. Once chosen, Fogel and I went to meet with a nearby group of Skrit who found a bunch of unusual artifacts that looked suspicious. When we arrived, they all realized that the unusual artifacts were actually Destroyer eggs, all minions of the Elder Dragon of Fire and Destruction. We quickly dispatched and killed all of the Destroyer minions as fast as we could. And then I had the choice to either get to a large amount of black powder to deal with all the Destroyer minions coming in, or to rescue friends of the Skrit to get more hands and help to deal with all of the Destroyers when needed. I decided that it would probably be best if we had more helping hands to deal with the Destroyer Queen. That was killing all the Skrit because we need as much help as possible to deal with such a large minion of the Elder Dragon of Destruction and Fire. So Fogel and I went to help find the lost Skrit. Fogel and I went out and eventually did find those lost Skrit, and we rescued as many as we could, though some died, and also killed as many Destroyer minions as we could, as well as along the way helping the Skrit as many as possible. Fogel and I further investigated the eggs with the Skrit, and figured out, like I said before, that the Destroyer Queen was actually a unique elite minion of the Elder Dragon of Destruction. so it was extremely important that we brought out the queen into the fray and kill it as fast as possible. The squid's idea was to bait the destroyer queen and wound it as much as possible, and then blow it up with the black powder bombs that was mentioned before, and they had gotten themselves. The squid retrieved it themselves while we were dealing with finding their lost squid friends and bringing them back. So we went to the squid's home, where they had already planted a massive bomb structure to deal with the destroyer queen when the time was right. Now, we dealt with the hordes of destroyer minions when we arrived in the squid's home until the destroyer queen finally came out, and we finally fought with it for a while, and fought with it as much as we could until it was wounded severely. And when the time was right, the squid detonated the bomb, and we all ran out, and it completely destroyed the destroyer queen, along with the squid's own home as well. Having killed an elite minion of the Elder Dragon, Fogel and I asked if the squid would join the Vigil in the fight against the Elder Dragon threats that plagues all of races of Tyria. Not just the main races, but also all of these tribal races as well. Especially since their home was destroyed in the process of trying to kill that destroyer queen. The squid had agreed that they would join the Vigil to find a new home and to continue the fight alongside the other races of Tyria. Now, I thought this was a pretty nice part of the story. It wasn't the best part ever, but I thought it was pretty nice, small, and sweet. And getting to know a tribal race like the squid makes me like them even more than I already did. I do wish this part was a little bit longer because I would have liked to get to know the squid even more than I already did. But nonetheless, I did enjoy this part of the story. It wasn't the strongest point ever, but it was pretty okay. It was pretty nice. But now getting into the combat and character progression. Since I haven't switched mains, thank God, I don't have a whole lot to add to the combat and character progression section this time around because I haven't switched mains all over again and had to relearn a whole class and all of that stuff. But besides that, I still am continuing to enjoy the dual axe gameplay a ton as a ranger. And the fact that the dual axes for ranger are actually throwing axes still really sells it for me in terms of my favorite weapon to use in the game. I'm still doing a mix of power and condition damage for my ranger, since dual axes deal tons of conditions and also deals a ton of unfriend damage as well. I don't know which type of armor set would suit best for that type of build, since I've noticed that there are different armor sets with different prefixes that gives different stats and stuff like that, very specific stats. Since it's just kind of all over the place, and I'm wanting to do lots of bleed and also lots of unfriend damage, so I'm trying my best to figure things out over time. Now, as I'm getting through all the higher levels, it's been easier to fill the gaps in my skills and specializations. I've been able to fully max out the command training tree, which has unlocked a really good elite skill for me, in which it gives my pet might when I attack, and gives me might when my pet attacks. It also gives me long durations of fury, stability, and swiftness as well. And because of my Beast Mastery ability, my passives, it also gives me regeneration and even more swiftness, which is super nice because that one passive skill I have from Beast Mastery just snowballs a ton on that one command skill and gives me a ton of really useful boons on myself. I don't know if that elite skill is any good in the future, but it's felt fantastic to use throughout my leveling and open world experience so far. Aside from skills with all of the skill points I've had and I've been getting from my leveling, I've also been able to max out more of my specializations. Although I don't use them currently, because I like my current specializations for my current build better, which is Marksmanship and Beast Mastery, I was able to fully max out Skirmishing and Nature Magic as well. In the case that I would ever want to switch those specializations at a certain point throughout the rest of my leveling. For what it looks like, I'm just gonna just have all the skills and all the specializations fully maxed out once I hit max. I don't know if that's right or wrong, but if that is the case, that is going to be awesome, because it's going to feel really nice being able to switch back and forth from any specialization or any skill in my arsenal whenever I want, and whenever in case I'm wanting to switch up my build that I'm currently doing and make a new build, or maybe just try out something else. I'm still very much looking forward to getting to level 80 so I can start working on my first elite specialization, which I think will be Untamed, because I think Untamed looks and sounds just super badass from its skills and passive traits. And also the fact that it uses a hammer is also cool as hell. That is just awesome. I think it's great. And I was thinking of still using the dual wield axes maybe when I play Untamed, but I definitely will give the hammer a shot as well, because being a hammer wielding ranger, just smashing enemies into the ground while my pet is also smashing enemies into the ground, just feels it just sounds like it's going to be crazy fun. Soul Beast also sounds like it's pretty fun as well, but I'm not a huge fan of just melding with my pet and not having my pet anymore, but gaining its bonuses in combat. I really like having my pet around because of the class fantasy of being a Beastmaster and having a Hunter-Ranger aesthetic. In any case though, my enjoyment of the combat and character progression is still very strong. Fighting through the open world is still a blast and hasn't gotten old for me yet, and I'm looking forward to continuing my character progression as I get closer and closer to level 80 and start working towards my elite specialization and to just start getting crazy new changes to how my character plays at max level as well. It's going to be awesome. Now getting into the world exploration, I probably sound like an extremely broken record after saying this multiple times in multiple videos, but the open world exploration and experience just continues to surprise me and it's just always so fun. It really is. Despite not exploring a whole lot for this level bracket of this video, I still was able to experience some really fun things even in my short time of exploring. For instance, during my exploration of the open world, I ran into a massive multi-event in the Harathi hinterlands, where the Seraph was trying to push further into the Centaur territory. And a bunch of players were gathering for pushing forward and forward into the Centaur encampments, like some sort of castle siege event. It was massive. These multiple events lasted a good half an hour or so, at least. We were constantly pushing into area after area after area, fighting tons of Centaur since we were in the heart of their territory. It was absolutely crazy, and there were tons of Centaurs getting beaten back, and there were even lots of players getting downed from the hordes of Centaur enemies coming in. Eventually, after pushing into 3 or so Centaur encampment areas, we finally reached the final area where the Centaur leader actually was. And it was a boss that we had to defeat, and we defeated it after 30 or so minutes of fighting through all of these Centaur hordes and areas. And the Seraph was able to take control of the entire area, replacing all of the Centaur enemies with Seraph NPCs and guards. It was super awesome taking part in this multi-event, and it felt like this one massive event had a massive effect on how the entire area was occupied. Instead of having a massive area filled with tons of enemies, it was now filled with tons of guards and allies. It was awesome, and I wonder what would have happened if this event ended up failing. If there would be any detrimental effects, maybe like having harder enemies in the area or something like that, or I just can't even imagine. I really can't. I really don't understand a lot about these multi-events, but it was just awesome to be a part of. And I can't wait to find more, maybe. Who knows? I'm sure there are probably multiple other types of multi-events in the world as well. And this was just my first one, even after leveling for so long. This was my first experience of experiencing this type of multi-event. And it was awesome. It was great. And on top of that, also, I went into a new area in one of the Norn areas, Lornar's Pass. And this area reminded me a ton of Skyrim, and is just absolutely beautiful. And of course, the composer that did Skyrim's music and the other Elder Scrolls games, like I said before, also did Guild Wars 2 soundtrack, so it made it feel like even more like Skyrim, so I was just taking in the sights and the beauty of the zone for a little bit. And it just felt great to relax for a few minutes and just look at the beautiful environment and open world. Guild Wars 2 does a fantastic job at making a beautiful, immersive open world. But after doing that, I ran into an apprentice chef who was seeking help in getting griffin eggs since she was requested by her chef teacher to obtain griffin eggs. We went around the snowy wilderness collecting the eggs she needed while also fighting back against tons of different beasts and also other enemies as well, like the Grawl. There were tons of Grawl coming in trying to stop us from getting the griffin eggs that the apprentice chef needed. But after collecting a full dozen of eggs, the apprentice chef and her guard, who kept talking about how hungry he was, ran back to the lodge, back to where her chef teacher was. She gave the eggs to her teacher, but then the large group of Grawl came into the lodge area and blockaded the entire lodge off and started invading and attacking the area to get the eggs for themselves. And that started a second event, so this was a whole other multi-event of the open world, my second multi-event that I've experienced so far. And we fought back waves of Grawl, waves and waves after waves, and also destroyed the blockades they had created. And the lodge was fully protected from the Grawl attackers, and the two chefs were finally able to make their food with the griffin eggs we had collected. And the chef even became a vendor that you could actually buy griffin egg food from, which was really cool. And the guard that was with the apprentice chef finally was able to get his food after talking about being so hungry for so long. But once again, for the millionth time, because I'm a broken record, the little things like this just make the open world multi-events it just makes Guild Wars 2's open world exploration feel so alive and fun. Doing these multi-events feel like multiple quest storylines from like MMOs like WoW, ESO and 14, but Guild Wars 2 does it in its own unique fashion, which is really nice to see. As always, I'm still excited to continue exploring the world and finding more unique events like this, and to keep experiencing the open world event stories as much as I can as well. But we will end it off right there for now. Once again, as I do in every video, do I recommend this game for players to play up to level 60? I 100% do. 100% recommend playing this game up to this level. This game is free up to max level, which is great. It's awesome for new players to get into it and just at least give it a try. And I think it's absolutely worth to give it a try at the very least if you haven't tried Guild Wars 2 yet. Just to see if you like it. It doesn't hurt because it's free. I've been continuing to enjoy the personal story develop, continuing to level and progress my ranger through all the levels, and once again, loving every single part of the dynamic, living, open world exploration of Guild Wars 2. And I'm still extremely excited to continue as I get up to the higher levels of Guild Wars 2 since we are closing in on reaching level 80. And I can't wait to see what awaits as I get closer to level 80 as well. But anyways, thank you guys for watching if you've made it this far. If you enjoyed, make sure to leave a like and let me know what you guys think in the comments below. Let me know if you want any specific videos or any more videos in Guild Wars 2 as well. Just let me know what type of videos you want and I'll keep it in mind. Probably make a video about it. Anyways, subscribe if you want and hit the bell icon. And of course, have a good day, have a great week, and I will see you guys in the next video. Take care.